The time has finally come. We are reading Throne of Freaking Glass. I have been teasing doing this video for entirely too long, and also because I have teased this so much, I kind of want to just like read as much of it as possible. So instead of just doing like a regular reading vlog, we're gonna do a 24 hours of reading. Nothing but Throne of Glass, and we're gonna see how many books I can get through. I do own the entire series, but I only grabbed the first 5. Actually, I don't even highly doubt, I know for a fact, I will not read all of these books in 24 hours. Realistically, I'm gonna read these 2 and then maybe some of this one. But you never know, maybe I'll surprise myself. Either way, I'm very excited. I hope you guys are as well. A lot of you have been telling me that this is like one of your favorite series and that you're really excited for me to read it, so we're finally doing it. I even bought some merch to wear in the video. Hi guys, I'm popping in really quickly to kind of update on what this video was going to be. So as I just mentioned, originally I really wanted to do a 24 hours of reading to kind of like kick off this series, but unfortunately by the end of the day, I just was really not feeling good. So I decided just to turn it into a regular like week-long reading vlog. Hopefully you don't mind. We'll do another 24 hours of reading some other time. There's like a big debate on whether you should read Assassin's Blade first or third or fourth or something like that. But for me personally, I will be reading the Assassin's Blade first. Sarah J Maas, the author herself, actually like came out with a reading order, and this one in her reading order I think is the 3rd or 4th position. But the TikTok that like completely sold me on reading this one first was one where someone basically said that if you don't like going backwards in storylines, then you need to read this one first. I love a story with multiple perspectives and multiple timelines, but I will definitely be honest, sometimes that does make it harder for me to kind of get into the story, because if it's multiple perspectives and the people are in like the same place, it doesn't bother me. But if it's like totally different, like things are going on, I get really invested in one person's story. So when it flips to the other person's, I'm like, ugh, and I have to like now invest myself in this person's story, and then, you know, back and forth until finally, eventually the story's like built enough to where I'm interested. But yeah, it's a whole process. So for me personally, I would rather just like avoid that. I think this is basically like the backstory of one of the characters. It says, a prequel to the New York Times bestselling Throne of Glass, this collection of 5 novellas explores the history of this cunning assassin and her enthralling and deadly world. So yeah, this is basically a prequel. You get to know the backstory of one of the characters. So I would rather just know that before going into the story. So that is the reason why I'm going to be reading Assassin's Blade first. Now let's go ahead and start our timer so we can get into this book. I am literally so excited. I've been reading for a little over an hour and I'm only on page 34. It's pretty good so far. Nothing really too crazy has happened, or nothing crazy really at all has happened. It kind of like kicked off with a little bit of a bang, but then now we're just kind of in the middle of Sam and Selena is how I've been saying her name. They're on kind of like a little mission. So literally nothing has happened yet, but we are kind of getting like a little bit of Selena's kind of personality. I don't know that I love her. She's a little obnoxious. She's very, very cocky. But I have a feeling, because a lot of people say that like this kind of explains why she is the way she is in the rest of the Throne of Glass series. So I kind of assumed going into this book that like something crazy is going to happen to her, and that's going to make her, I'm guessing, like bad. I could be totally off, because right now she just seems to be like a super confident, cocky 16-year-old assassin. But yeah, that's all I have to say. I've barely read any of it. Yeah, I'm not really good at like multitasking, so cooking my lunch and then also eating and reading just made me like read really slowly. So now that I have nothing to distract me and I'm properly fed, let's get back into this book. I wanna read like a good chunk before I come back to you guys, because we've got hopefully a lot of books to get through in this video. So I'm gonna keep reading. See you in a little bit. Actually, before I go, I have one more thing to talk about. I wanted to quickly mention that this is going to be a spoiler-free video. I meant to mention that earlier and I totally forgot. I had put up a poll on my community tab like a while back asking you guys if you wanted like a spoiler-free or a spoiler version of me reading this series, and literally, you guys, it was like 50-50. So my kind of compromise with that is this 24 hours of starting this series is going to be spoiler-free, and then I plan on doing another reading vlog of me finishing the rest of the series, like whatever I don't read in this one, and that one is gonna be spoilers. So hopefully you guys are okay with that. Now I'm gonna go and keep reading. See you in a little bit. I just remembered that I have a couple of library books that are a couple of days overdue, so I need to return these, and then I also have a couple that I need to pick up that I have on hold, so we need to take a quick little trip to the library. But before we go, I do want to quickly update you on The Assassin's Blade, because this is pretty good so far, and I am now on page 81, and that's actually page like 3 of our second story within this book. There is a table of contents in the beginning of this book with like different chapter titles, but I didn't really think anything of it, but they're actually, I think, their own like little mini stories about Selena, which I'm actually really excited for. So this first one that I just read is The Assassin and the Pirate Lord. They're all the assassin and the healer, the desert, the underworld, which sounds very intriguing, and the empire. They could totally mean nothing to the actual grand scheme of Throne of Glass. And again, it just might be kind of like to explain why Selena is the way she is, or just kind of get some backstory on her. But I am curious to see if these people come back. I'm slightly intrigued to see if the Pirate Lord comes back. And again, we are into the second story, The Assassin and the Healer. And I have not met the healer yet because we're just kind of like starting it up. Basically, she's been like spending a couple of days at this inn, and the barmaid there is the only one that we've really gotten any kind of like thoughts from, I guess. I need to put a bookmark into this book, which I don't actually have on hand, so we're using a scrap piece of paper. I need to get like something to hold all my bookmarks. Not that I have like a whole lot, but the few that I do have, I never seem to have like on hand when I'm actually reading a book, so I end up using everything else but a bookmark. Anyway, I need to return these books to the library, which, by the way, if you're curious, I have Midnight Ruin by Katie Roberts. This is the most recent book in the Dark Olympus series, which I have been really enjoying, but unfortunately, this book so far has not been my favorite. This book, on the other hand, The Assistant to the Villain, such a good freaking story. Like, the plot of this was good, the characters were fun, the banter between the two, the villain and the main character, Evie, you get both of their perspectives. Such a fun read. Anyway. We are back and ready to read. Yeah, it's around 6 o'clock now. I'm ready to get back to reading, but I did want to show you the books that I got from the library really quickly, just because I'm excited for them. I don't know. I feel like you might want to know. So the first one that I got is The Housemaid. I've been so resistant, for no particular reason, to reading this book. Everyone literally everyone loves it. The librarian that was like checking out my books was even saying how good this book is. So I don't know why it's taken me so long to read it, but we're finally gonna read it. I'm very excited. But then I also picked up Expiration Date, which I'm pretty excited for as well. This is a new release and it's a romance basically about a girl who gets notes every time she's about to meet someone new or get into a new relationship. And the notes basically just contain a name, which is gonna be the guy that she's gonna get in a relationship with, and then a date, which is basically when they're gonna break up. Until she finally gets a note with just a name, no date on it. So it sounds like a really cool concept. So those are the 2 books that I got from the library. Now let's go ahead and get back to our book. Hello, welcome to day 2 of this now week-long reading vlog. To be honest, I'm feeling a little drained today, so I made myself some tea. I've got my book, I've got my comfy clothes on, and I'm ready to just kind of like hang out and read with you guys. This is all I have left to read, which is basically just the last section of the book, which is The Assassin and the Empire. And I have like mixed feelings on this book. First of all, I am liking it. I've definitely enjoyed the story so far, and I like Selena as a character just in general, which in and of itself kind of scares me a little bit because I've literally looked at so much Sword of Glass merch and I've not seen her name pop up one singular time. Actually, is it on the 13? Hold on, one moment. Yeah, it's not on here. I just went and grabbed my shirt from yesterday because, again, it's like a merch shirt for Throne of Glass. I don't know if I even really showed you guys that well. It basically says like the 13 on it, and then it has a bunch of lists of names at the bottom. It also says from now until, hold on, I can't read upside down. From now until the darkness claims us. Oh, I like that. I have no idea what any of this means because I haven't read the series obviously yet. I just kind of crossed my fingers when I got the shirt, hoping that this would be something that I'm happy about. But also too, just in general, I really love the fact that like book merch shirts are starting to kind of look like band tees. I love the vibe and like look of a band tee, but I don't really listen to a lot of the music that are on those band tees. But I read the books. Also, the back has like a cool design on it as well, which is one of the reasons that I wanted to get it. I'll have this shirt linked down below if you're interested in it. I got it off of Etsy. But anyway, the whole reason I grabbed this shirt was because I was seeing if Selena's name would be on like the 13, the list of the 13, and it is not. So literally not a single thing of Throne of Glass merch have I seen her name anywhere, which kind of just like further validates my theory from yesterday where I feel like this has got to be like some sort of like villain origin story type of situation. I could again be totally wrong because I'm not finished with it, and honestly so far I don't see how she could be a villain. I really like Selena's character right now, and we're nearing the end of this book and everything so far, not like everything has gone well, there's definitely been ups and downs, but like the last part that I ended off on right before The Assassin and the Empire, things are like really starting to go well for her, and I'm just like so scared of this little last bit of this book. It's literally why I didn't finish reading last night, because I just wanted to leave off on this high for a little bit, because again I just feel like something real bad is about to happen, or real sad, and I don't want it. I don't want it. I really do like her. But like, where's her merch, you know? Because as of right now, I want a Selena t-shirt. I want a Selena band tee. We'll see. Anyway. Yeah, not looking good already. It's only been like 2 seconds since the last time I talked to you guys. I've read like 3 pages, but I'm being reminded that although I did say things were like looking up for her, like where I left off was like really positive, and not everything went well, you know? Also, I just realized I never really like finished my point from 1,000 years ago, which was that I had mixed feelings on this book. So basically, I am really enjoying the book, but I also, several times now throughout reading this book, and I'm definitely feeling it now, I want to just get into Throne of Glass. Like, I don't really want to read this anymore. I'm not really someone that needs a backstory on characters, just like in general. I'm fine if we have one, we get some information, but I definitely don't need a whole book about the backstory of someone for me to like or not like them. I definitely want to know what happens in this book, but like I don't want to spend the time reading it. I just want to like know and get into the actual series to see how the things in this book kind of come into play with the other series, because I'm getting very, very curious about it. Anyway, point being, I've enjoyed it so far, but I'm ready for it to be over so I can actually jump into the actual series and kind of see what happens. Okay, I've been reading over in my other chair, but I'm in chapter 3 of this last like section, and I've had this feeling for a while, but I feel like I know what's gonna happen at the end of this, and the closer we get to it now, the more and more I'm just not wanting it to happen. But again, there's still that inkling of maybe I'm wrong. There's a good chance I'm wrong, and I'm really hoping so. I just don't think I am. What do you think, June? Ugh. Well, I need to pull myself together. For the love of Pete. I literally knew that this was gonna happen pretty much the entire book, but really specifically knew since we started this last section. And now that it's happened, I am devastated. Just devastated. And I still have, how many pages? I don't even care anymore. I still have 35 pages. I have 35 pages, and I really don't care to read them. I'm gonna read them, but like I don't want to. Nothing good is gonna happen for the rest of this book. For all the people that say you have to read the other books before this one to be like emotionally invested in the story, lies. Ugh. I literally just want to like stop reading this book and get into Throne of Glass so I can just pretend like this never happened. I know for a fact that if I read 2 or 3 books in the Throne of Glass series and then had to stop and just read something about someone's backstory, I probably would have skipped it, to be honest. Because again, like I said earlier, backstories are really not that big of a deal for me, and if I'm already like invested in a story, I don't really care at that point. So I definitely feel like for me, it was the best decision to read this first. And I'm honestly kind of confused why I would care about this character in this book without reading this first. The synopsis of this kind of starts off by saying, in a land without magic, an assassin is summoned to the castle. She has no love for the vicious king who rules from his throne of glass. But she has not come to kill him. She has come to win her freedom. If she defeats 23 murderers, thieves, and warriors in a competition, she will be released from prison to serve as the king's champion. Her name is Selena Sardenthine, I don't know how to say her last name. So that in and of itself tells me she's not going to be like a villain. She's clearly like the main character of the story. Love the fact also too, just a side note, that she's going to be doing like a competition. But again, like I know what she's being freed from because I read this. Like this book definitely feels like the next like natural step to this story, so I don't understand how you could care about this one without this one. That's my opinions so far. Part of me wants to like just dive straight back into this one to kind of mend my little broken heart, but also I just feel so drained emotionally. So I feel like I need like a little bit of a break. So I think I'm going to work on my computer for a little bit, maybe go for a walk later, and then tonight we'll pick this back up. have so much to talk to you guys about. First of all, I am wearing the same shirt that I wore on Monday because I just felt like it. But then also, I totally meant to like wake up early yesterday and obviously continue this video, but also I wanted to film something else as well. But I woke up and it was like super dark outside. It was really gloomy and rainy. And I just decided that I didn't want to do anything. Over the last couple of years or so, I've definitely become someone that I feel like I need to constantly be doing something productive. And if I'm not, then I feel guilty about it. And I'm starting to realize that I need to just give myself some days where I literally don't have to think about anything. I can just sit and do literally absolutely nothing. So instead of like jumping up and getting ready for the day, I literally just grabbed my book and read for a while. And the book got so good that I decided that I just needed to continue reading, and that was that. That's what I did yesterday. I literally laid in bed and read and read and read. So I have a lot to talk to you guys about. So the last time that I filmed, I think I was trying to start this book. I got like a few pages in. We were at the park. It was just entirely too windy, but I did pick up this book that night when I went to bed, and you guys, I was awake until 3 a.m. reading this book. I could not put it down, and honestly, I could have kept reading, but I like had to force myself to put it down because I was just like, I needed to sleep at some point, you know? And then obviously on Tuesday, I finished this book, and we are currently almost done with the next book as well. So this is Crown of Midnight, and we are currently on page 295. I feel like I've been on the biggest emotional roller coaster. It's like she's kicking butt, then something bad happens. She's kicking some butt, and then something bad happens. And then she's kicking some butt, something good happens, and then something awful happens. And then she has to like rework herself back up. And it is just a cycle. They even said it in this book. She's like, why do I keep going through this over and over again? Especially with where I'm at right now, I'm really annoyed that I left off where I did. I stopped right after something horrendous, and I just went to bed sad. So I'm actually really anxious to get back into this book so we can hopefully move past this awful situation. As for the actual like plot of these books, I think I read some of the synopsis for this one. This one's basically about our main character, Selena, who is trying to win her freedom by entering a competition to become the king's champion. I love a trial kind of aspect, especially in this kind of like fantasy slash like medieval king's queen kind of setting. But I will say the actual competition itself, if you're going into it excited for that, don't get too excited. Basically, the way the competition is set up, you get one trial or like test once a week for like 13 weeks or something like that. But they really only ended up focusing on like a select few of the trials. They like briefed over some of them and only really focused on a few, which were definitely fun. I loved reading that part of it. But I feel like the majority of the book is not really focused on the trials themselves. There's definitely a subplot of something else kind of happening. The second part of the synopsis says, the crown prince will provoke her, the captain of the guard will protect her, and a princess from a faraway country will befriend her. But something rotten dwells in the castle, and it's there to kill. When her competitors start dying mysteriously, one by one, Selena's fight for freedom becomes a fight for survival and a desperate quest to root out the evil before it destroys her world. And we do get some more characters involved because with the Assassin's Blade, it really was just focused on Selena, whereas this one we're kind of building more relationships with other people. So we have the Crown Prince, which is Dorian. We have the Captain of the Guard, which is, I've been saying his name is Cole, but it's spelled C-H-A-O-L. So I feel like it's probably like a mix of like Kale and Cole, but I've just been saying Cole because it's easier for me. And then there's also the princess from a faraway country, which is Nehemia or something like that. I'm not very good with pronouncing names and things like that in fantasy novels. I just kind of go with whatever my brain thinks is the closest to something that's like already in there, you know? But anyway, I've been really enjoying getting to know more characters. This one was a good one. It was really fun. Really enjoyed it. This one, also really fun and have been enjoying it until recently. I'm here for the ride of the emotional roller coaster, but in the dips, it's really hitting me hard. Anyway, I think that's really all I can say at this moment in time. I'm gonna keep reading and we'll see how many updates I can give you. It's kind of hard to do spoiler-free videos because like I don't know what to say when I update, you know? I do have a little bit of a full day tomorrow. I have a doctor's appointment early in the morning, which I am not excited for, but I do want to try to do something more fun with the rest of the day, so we'll see how that goes. Actually, before I keep reading, there is one more thing that I wanted to mention that I just remembered. The reading order for Assassin's Blade. Now that I've read the entirety of this book and the majority of the second one, I will back myself up and say that I do feel like you should read the Assassin's Blade first. There are so many things within these books that are referenced that if I hadn't read this first, I would have felt absolutely nothing. Like I would have just read it and been like, okay, whatever, and just probably breezed through it without even realizing that it was referencing this book. But because I knew the stories, I knew the background, I knew how she felt in those moments, and it made me kind of like re-feel all those things. And literally on the second page of this book, she mentions something in reference to kind of like what happened that was devastating in this book, and it just brought me right back to it. And if I hadn't read this one first, I literally would have read that and thought absolutely nothing about it. But instead, it was like, ugh, such like a moment. You know what I mean? So if you don't want to like stop a story and go backwards in time and you want a more emotional experience with your reading, my recommendation would be to read Assassin's Blade first. And again, after reading these two books, I'm really glad that I did read it the way that I did. So that's my little spiel on that. Now I'm going to keep reading. Hi guys, it's been quite some time since the last time that I talked to you guys in this video. I've kind of been working on several different videos at once, which I don't know why I tried to do that because I get distracted and overwhelmed very easily, but either way, that's what we've done. It's been probably about a week or so since the last time I updated you guys on Crown of Midnight. When I last talked to you guys, I was near the end of this book, and since then I have definitely finished this book, and I've actually read and finished the one after this one as well. But that book we're not going to talk about in this video. That one we're actually going to be talking about in part 2 of this video, where I basically read all of the rest of the series aside from these first 3. And I have already started filming for that one, so I needed to kind of wrap this one up. So Crown of Midnight, let's do our final thoughts. What are my final thoughts? I was looking over my footage a little bit earlier, and I think I left off, like the last time I talked to you guys, I was on chapter 39. And the way that this book ended, it definitely made me very excited, or like very anxious to get into the next one. It didn't end in a way where I was like, ooh, I'm so excited about what's happening next. I was more so like, oh no, what the heck is gonna happen next? I feel like this one left off on a cliffhanger, and then also we had like a big reveal at the end of this one, which the reveal, I'm gonna be honest, I had kind of figured out a long time ago. But then also, like I said, we did kind of have somewhat of a cliffhanger. And again, like I said, I have already read the next book as well. So like literally the second I finished this one, I like hopped into the next one because I had to find out what happened next. And you'll find out what happens next in the next video. And I think that's really all I have to say to kind of like wrap up this book and these first 3 books in this series. So far, I am really enjoying this series, and I'm just so excited to see, you know, what's next for Selena and her friends, and this has just been so fun.